Next up is Lindy Urso, followed by Christina Janikowski.
Good afternoon. It's Lindy Urso. I'm a father of 3 young boys. We live in Cascade. I think one thing you don't factor in with these religious exemptions, in my family, I have a strong religious objection. My wife does not. She doesn't share that belief, and she's actually very pro-vaccine, so we've had to compromise. And by the way, just because the Pope has come out and said it's okay for the Catholic Church, but forgive me if I don't take my cues from a guy who's spent his career shuffling pedophiles around from church to church. So my wife and I compromised. My 2 kids that have been at school actually have been vaccinated for the MMR over my objection, but I've had to compromise. And you know, this rushed process with the skewed numbers from the Department of Public Health, you need to dig deep. I mean, we do have one of the highest vaccination rates in the nation, even by those numbers. I wanted to touch on conflicts. Somebody else touched on it. In addition to the conflicts, the 2 representatives who are pushing this through, the clear conflicts with Boehringer Ingelheim. You had a speaker, Miss Nicolai. I just Googled her while she was speaking. I put Linda Nicolai Merck and found out she's a scientific consultant for Merck. She's a paid consultant for Merck in their work on the HPV vaccine. She didn't disclose that. The AAP, the young lady from the American Academy of Pediatrics, she didn't disclose that they are funded by corporations, and the top tier is the President's Club, and 2 of the big 4 vaccine makers are on the President's Club funding the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's a real incestuous situation between that, the CDC, the 2 reps over here who have direct financial interest in pushing this through. The process you're doing here, I don't care where you fall substantively. If you vote to remove a religious exemption through this process, this sham, you all ought to be ashamed of yourself. I mean, you're talking about not 1 but 2 constitutional rights: First Amendment right to freedom of religion and a state constitutional right to a free education. It's a huge issue. You knew we all were looking for it. Everybody's paying attention for it, and it was snuck through, backdoored. It's hard not to be cynical when you see, you know, Mr. Ritter said years ago this was going to happen. He's the one pushing it. You got, coincidentally, Tong comes out with his report the same week that we get the public health skewed numbers. All this stuff happening at once doesn't seem to be a coincidence. The process is not fair. It's not democratic. It's not right. So I urge you, no matter where you fall on it, to give it its due. This religious exemption has existed since the vaccine mandate has existed in 1959. There's never been a problem with it. There's not a problem with it now. None. So I urge you all, again, if nothing else, no matter where you fall on this, don't do it this way. I read Mr. Tong's memo, by the way. I'm a practicing attorney, 20 years. I probably got more appellate experience and trial experience than Mr. Tong. I can tell you there are some holes in his logic, and I plan on challenging it. If you're going to do it, if you do it this way, you're only going to help my challenge. I can tell you that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next up is Christina
I have a question.
Jankowski.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yes, you can.
Sorry. Excuse me, attorney. So you had mentioned people that are on this list work for Merck.
Yeah, well, this Nicolai, Miss Nicolai, who spoke today, I just Googled her name with Merck because Merck is a common one. She's been a paid consultant for Merck in their work with the HPV vaccine, which I'm sure she's going to be back here pushing that as a mandate soon enough.
Yeah, every year. Thank you.
Christina Jankowski, followed by Sheila Diamond.